very rare to see you wearing a T-shirt.
I know.
But it's appropriate.
You know the name of this logo?
NASA?
No, the specific name of the NASA logo.
Oh, no.
The worm. Because they're all looks like a worm. The name of the original, the name of the original one where it's in the sphere is the meatball.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it is.
What is up, interwebs?
That's just what you get.
Big Lou here. Matt, the Cut Man, with me as always.
Free trivia. Free for nothing.
And we are doing our review of First Man, which is the theatrical version of the film that was released in 1966 that Stanley Kubrick directed. No, I'm kidding.
First of all, the moon landing was in 1969.
Whenever it was. This is the movie that documents the true life story of Neil Armstrong, played by Ryan Gosling, directed by Damien Chazelle, based on the book by James R. Hansen. Cut Man.
Yes.
Being the biggest NASA geek that I know, what'd you think of First Man?
I gotta say, it was not what I expected.
Okay.
But I definitely enjoyed it.
Okay.
It was a lot more biographical for Neil Armstrong than it was like a Project Apollo or NASA movie.
I think I mentioned this to you last night, and I was talking to my sister about it earlier today. This movie is a brilliant film. It's a wonderful piece of art. It was not the movie I wanted it to be. I wanted this movie to be Apollo 13 about Apollo 11. Yeah. And it was not that in the least. It's the same problem that I had with Dunkirk when we saw Dunkirk.
Okay.
I wanted Dunkirk to be Saving Private Ryan about Dunkirk, and it wasn't. It was an intimate portrayal of the specific characters in the movie. And
it's funny you mentioned that. I saw an article that made that similar argument where they were kind of like twins movies.
Yeah, and that's what this was. But this movie's going to win all kinds of awards come award season. It was beautifully shot. It was artistic. It was emotional. It was deep. I couldn't stand it.
Keep your eye on Damien Chazelle.
He one of these days he'll make a good movie.
It's going to have an idea. This kid.
So what stands out the most to you about what you liked about this movie?
Well, I like that it... Well, first of all, I like that it told me something I didn't know. For as much as I consider myself...
NASA guru?
An aficionado of all things NASA and Apollo and 1960s spaceflight. I did not realize that Neil had lost a daughter.
Okay, I didn't either, but obviously that's because I don't know as nearly as much as you do about it. But
I just had not delved that much into his pre-Apollo life.
Well, and it really does a good job of highlighting the fact that wouldn't necessarily be common knowledge because he didn't talk about it with anybody, and that was one of the key plot points of the movie was this repressed grief that he had about the loss of his daughter, who was. It never specifically says, but you get the idea that she's about 3 or 4. When she dies of a brain tumor and stuff. So, and there's definitely a lot of loss in this movie that he has to deal with. A lot more than I was expecting going into into the film. But
it made me think. On the way home, not in watching the movie, but on the way home, it kind of made me realize that had this happened today, Neil probably would not have been cleared for flight.
He would not have even been part of the project.
No, he would have been grounded. Yeah. Like, he would not have passed the psych profile.
Well, and they kind of address that when they're interviewing him for the Gemini project, and they say, I was sorry to hear about your daughter, and he just... I'm sorry, is there a question there?
Yeah.
Just very cold, very and they ask him, he's like, is this going to be a problem? And he goes, I can't see how it wouldn't be a problem. He was just so matter of fact about it.
Right. Or I think the line was, do you think this will affect you?
Oh, yeah. Whatever it is. Oh, yeah, no, that's a much better phrasing of it. So you're right. Yeah. But the dialogue in this movie... Not a whole lot of dialogue in this movie. There's a lot more just, in-your-face camera. And I had a big problem with the cinematography in this movie, but we'll get to that when we get to what we don't like. But
well, Neil was notoriously quiet.
Yeah, no, and that's what I liked about it is because there was a lot more expression that he was able to do. I mean, Ryan Gosling is just a hell of an actor.
Come on.
The expressions that he was able to give and the emotion that he was able to convey with so little dialogue, I thought was just fantastic. And then there were a lot of moments that I caught myself, just cheesy grin, from like when they first docked with the Gemini. I thought it was
the Gemini and the Aegina.
I couldn't think of the word or the name of the thing. When they first docked and everyone's all going crazy and they're all happy, and I just caught myself grinning and smiling, and the filmmaker did a really good job of bringing you into that and making you feel the exhilaration and the sense of accomplishment that they felt as well. So,
yeah, somebody described docking in space as you want to have a good time. Let's come over to my house, and I'll take a football and throw it over the roof of my house. You stand in the front yard and try to hit it with a rock.
Yeah.
That's kind of what docking is like in space.
It reminded me of the line that Scotty says in the first Abrams
Star Trek,
where he says, "It's like hitting a bullet with a smaller bullet while riding a horse backwards," or whatever that line is. That's about right.
That is about accurate.
Yeah. So what else stands out that you really enjoyed?
For as much as you did not like the cinematography, I really liked the feeling of being in the cockpit.
It wasn't just in the cockpit. It was at mission control, all the focus pulls and the handheld camera turns, and it really like, oh, hey, I'm going to look over here and see what this guy's doing. I'm going to look over here and pull focus.
Yeah, no. I liked that. I felt like I was like actually there.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a pilot, I didn't fly in space, but
missed it by that much.
I would like to. Somebody would just give me a spaceship. I'm sure I could do it.
Call your buddy Elon.
Yeah, right.
It's coming right after the Model 4.
No. I absolutely liked the launch of the Gemini. Now I know what it feels like to be strapped to a Titan missile and launched into space.
Yeah, the theater that we saw the movie in had an ample sound system that was able to really drive home some of that the rumbling of the rockets. And stuff. And
I mean, I noticed that right away. It's like because the movie opens up in the cockpit of the X-15.
Yeah.
Point of view, you're in the cockpit and you're dropped out of a World War II bomber.
Yeah.
And then he lights it's a rocket plane.
Yeah.
And he lights the rocket.
Yeah, no, it's a missile with a cockpit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it skips off the atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the first 10 minutes of this movie, 15 minutes of this movie are this of Ryan Gosling and all the stuff that they're saying, oh, what's happening, you don't see any of it. It's just him and what he's experiencing.
Right.
And for me, as a cinematic person, I would have really liked to have seen what the plane was doing, what the plane was doing, the X-15 and the just a shot of it.
A pulled out version.
Yeah, would have been nice.
I think you should go and watch From the Earth to the Moon.
Yes. Oh, I have, and it's fantastic.
Right. That's
like
what
I said. It goes back to I wanted this movie to be Apollo 13 about Apollo 11 and the Gemini and stuff like that, but it was not a cinematic blockbuster type. It wasn't that type of film, and I'm okay with that.
I would like them to make that movie about Apollo 12.
For those of us that don't know why that would be a good movie, why don't you enlighten us?
The crew, if I could have been on any crew of the Apollo project, it would have been Apollo 12.
Okay.
Those guys seem like they had the most fun. Pete Conrad, it was just... I feel like he and I would have had a good time together.
Was Buzz Aldrin on that one?
No. It was Pete Conrad, Al Bean, and... I forget the command module pilot's name.
And the Cutman.
Yes.
Yeah.
But those guys, they really seemed like they had a good time, and they were more like rock stars than the solemnness of Neil and Buzz.
Speaking, I wouldn't say Buzz was solemn because
solemnness of Neil and
based on Corey Stoll's performance of Buzz Aldrin. Give me that movie. Where's the Buzz Aldrin story? Because that dude was... Best line in the movie is when I forget what he said, but it was after the Apollo 1 testing malfunctioned and Ed and the rest of those guys died. Sorry, spoiler alert, but it happened 40 years ago, so 50 years
60.
ago almost. Yeah. When was that? In 63, 65?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's been a minute. Anyway, and he says, I'm just saying what we're all thinking. And then there's that 2 beats. Mm-hmm. And Neil's like, well, maybe you shouldn't. Yeah. And that was it was fantastic.
It's the perfect thing to say.
Yeah, and it was incredibly well timed, too. It was beat, think about it. Do I chastise him? Yes, I do. Well, maybe you shouldn't.
And it was said with the Ryan Gosling charm.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Come on.
So, and then speaking of the rest of the cast, we've got Jason Clarke as Ed White, and I love Jason Clarke. Mm-hmm. I think he's fantastic. Claire Foy plays Janet Armstrong, who, if you're not familiar with Claire Foy, you should go watch everything she does. She's fantastic. She's especially fantastic in this as Janet Armstrong. Mm-hmm. And then Kyle Chandler. Again, one of those character actors.
Love me some Kyle Chandler.
Yeah, you see him all the time, and you're like, oh, it's that guy.
Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, for sure. And then the great Ciarán Hinds playing Robert Gilruth, who... What was Robert Gilruth's actual title? Because he was like the head of NASA at the time.
I think he was the administrator.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it's Ciarán Hinds, so he's fantastic. Stole the screen anytime he was on. So we've kind of hinted at it a little bit, and y'all heard me talk about a little bit of stuff that I didn't like. Cutman, was there anything about this that didn't work for you or you didn't like?
What I wasn't crazy about the score. For the strangest thing, for a guy that directed Whiplash and La La Land, you would think the score would have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it might have been for some. I was not a big fan.
There wasn't a whole lot of it that really stood out to me. And you know me and scores. I mean, that's pretty much all I listen to is movie scores at this point. And you're right. Nothing about it really stood out as, hey, this is a fantastic piece of music. And not any of it was bad. It just, none of it really stood out. And I got to be perfectly honest with you. There were a lot of segments in this movie where there was no music at all.
True.
It was just the sound effects.
And that, I feel like there could have been more score there. And, I mean, space travel is supposed to be romantic, and you should add some music to that to carry you along.
The contrast between the Gemini launch sequence and the Apollo launch sequence is night and day.
Yeah. Because
the cinematography and the score and the everything that you feel as Apollo 11 is launching is just
it was amazing.
Some of the most breathtaking movie that I've seen in a long time. It was spectacularly shot.
Well, this thing launching up, keep in mind, it's a 33-story building.
Yeah.
The Titan missile was much shorter than that.
By how much?
It would have been about that size.
So the Gemini is this, and then the Apollo is the whole thing.
Yeah. Because think about how much you need to get not only into orbit, but to launch into deep space into the moon. You have to launch the capsule, you have to launch the LEM, and all of the fuel for that. So you need all of this spaceship, all of this rocket to launch that spaceship. To launch the Gemini, you just need this Air Force. The Titan missile was a nuclear launch missile.
Yeah, it was an ICBM. Strap a couple of astronauts at the top where the warhead should be.
Yeah, exactly. They just took one from an Air Force base and launched these guys. And so this was a custom built. This was Warner von Braun's brainchild.
Speaking of custom built, if you're interested, we do have a video montage of Cutman putting this Lego model together. It's on the channel. You can find the link to it above his head.
Lego. This is a real rock. This will fly. You fill it up with fuel and it will fly.
No, you can throw it and it'll go, a couple of yards, but it will not fly.
Agree to disagree.
Okay. I literally had nothing on that. So anyway, so you can find that. I'll also have the link down in the description down below. So, all that being said, yeah, definitely go see this movie. It was, as long as you know what you're expecting going into it, then you'll truly enjoy it.
And I feel like we've prepared you.
Yeah. It's a really good, and of course this is kind of a spoiler review, but it's really kind of like if you watch Titanic, the ship sinks.
Spoiler alert. We landed on the moon.
We landed on the moon. Yeah.
Unless you're Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber, it's not a spoiler.
Yeah, no, not even a little bit. I highly recommend that you go see this as the piece of art that this film is. Again, it was not the movie I wanted it to be, but it was still a spectacular film. Anything to add?
Go see it.
Definitely go see it. So anyway, while you're going to see that, go ahead and click right here and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed our review. If you didn't enjoy our review, give us a thumbs up and share this video to your friends and say, hey, look at these bozos, aren't they so dumb? Anyway, that's going to do it for us. We're going to be reviewing movies. The fall movie season is just getting underway, and we've got lots of stuff coming up.
Oh, I was showing you before, the Discovery Channel put out a great, not to plug somebody else's work, but the Discovery Channel put out a great documentary called When We Left Earth, the NASA missions. And they remastered all of the archival footage from every manned NASA mission from the beginning all the way through the space station. And it's truly incredible. Narrated by Gary Sinise and narrated by all the astronauts who were still alive.
Yeah, he was showing me some of the footage from it, and it looks spectacular. Yeah. So definitely check it out if you're interested in how we got from the Earth to the Moon. Also, From the Earth to the Moon is another great
Tom Hanks,
documentary series.
Ron Howard.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, that's going to do it for us, folks. Go ahead and subscribe and like and all the stuff that you're supposed to do with YouTube videos. In the meantime, we'll be right here breaking down movies on the interwebs.